going on, people? This is your guy Side checking in one time. It is the day before Thanksgiving, and it's about 9 o'clock, and I got a project that I've been wanting to work on for a while, but just haven't had time to do it because I've been busy. I finally got some time to myself, so I figured I'd go ahead and try out this thing. Long story short, I recently got a new truck for me, and I had some 24-inch wheels that I had been sitting on for a couple of years that I was going to put on my black Expedition, but I decided that these wheels I had in my garage actually look better on this new truck that I got. I got another Expedition. So long story short, what I found out was that I had 3 of the center caps on the rims, these 24-inch Lexanis that I was putting on there, but it was missing one center cap. So I put the tires on, put the wheels on, looks good on the truck. Truck runs fine, but I'm missing one center cap. And if you're like me, it just irritates you. It doesn't look right. You got to have it all the way right. So I went online looking for a center cap for this wheel, and to no avail, I couldn't find it anywhere. I Googled it. I went to different websites. I went to a very popular website called centercaps.com, where they're supposed to have like just any cap. But of course, they wouldn't have mine. So, long story short, I finally found a spot that had the center cap, but they wanted $189 for it. I just felt like that was an outrageous price for basically a piece of plastic, which is not that big, and what have you. So my mind got to spinning, and I was like, you know what? If I can figure out a way how to make my own, then I'll be in business. Long story short, on the back of these center caps, if you're looking for a center cap, there's usually a part number. You can Google that and it'll pull it up. I did that and it pulled up my center cap all day, but every place I looked, I was finding that it was either out of stock or they just didn't have it anymore. And I said I refuse to pay $189 for something that's slightly smaller than a Frisbee. So anyway, I've got a background in dentistry, and that's what I used to do for some years in the mid-90s, and something came to me and just was like, you know what, you used to make impressions of teeth and make cast molds of them. So I said, you know what, why not apply that same theory? So long story short, I started looking to get into some supplies, some algid and stuff, but I just couldn't find enough of it that was going to keep my cost in line. So then after looking on YouTube, I started seeing that these people were doing these crafts and making jewelry and different things by making their own molds out of 100% silicone and cornstarch. So I said, why not apply the same theory to what I'm doing? So that's what my plan of action is. Now, how it works, I'm not certain, but my plan is to make a mold out of these ingredients, and the silicone only cost me like $5. The cornstarch only cost me $1. So right now I'm $6 in. I had to buy a new caulk gun, which cost me $3, which is nothing. And I plan on casting my mold using this JB Weld professional grade epoxy, which is basically resin. I'm hoping to have enough. If not, I'll fill the rest in with Bondo. So we're going to see how it goes. I've watched quite a few videos, so we're going to use the cornstarch and the silicone, and we're going to make it happen, Captain. I wasn't going to pay $189, point blank, period, and that's just what it is. So bear with me. This is going to be a messy thing, but we'll see how it works out. So first thing I'm going to do is I need all of the silicone. So it's 10.1 fluid ounces. The ratio is 10.1 to 16 ounces of cornstarch, and I'm going to mix this into like a bread dough consistency. And since I'm going to be using all of it, these things are tough right here, so I'm going to try and get this off with these scissors. Well, it would probably be smart if I had some eyewear, because that almost took my eye out. Alright, and basically what you do, there's a second there's a second protective barrier in there, and use this pin on your caulk gun. I don't know if you can see it, maybe if I hold it against my shirt. But we go ahead and break that seal. Oh yeah. And that exposes our 100% silicone. And we basically load up our gun and start getting it ready, start priming it. And I'm going to dump all, oh, this stuff is hard. Now I see why you need a caulk gun to do this, because we're going to dump all this stuff into our bowl. I'm going to mix this up in here. And, I need to stand up. Yeah, so look at all this in here, and this stuff is a gooey mess. But I'm trying to put this silicone in this bowl or get it out this tube without this gun wasn't going to work, and that was what was holding me up, because I've got a caulk gun at home and I've got one at the shop, but for whatever reason I couldn't find either one of them. So I just had to go out and get a new one. And this stuff is pretty gooey. Okay. And we're almost there. Oh yeah. So we got a nice pile of fluid, viscous silicone. And we still got some coming out. Oh yeah. More than I expected. Okay, so we got it all out. Cool. Got this one last little drop, and that'll do it. I want all of it though. Don't want to waste any of it. So I don't know if you can see it, but that's what it looks like. Just blah. Now I've put plastic on my table to protect it from any of the stuff running anywhere. And we're going to get, and we've got some Clover Valley cornstarch. Like I said, I paid 99 cents for this stuff. So, basically, we're going to add that. And we're going to put a good portion of it, but we're going to save some, because we're going to need to coat our hard surface once I start getting this stuff heated and wrapped up. Matter of fact, I'm just going to eliminate the bag and whatnot. So I'm still keeping some in there. Some fell on there, that's okay. So that's what that cornstarch looks like. Got that work. And we're going to just start kneading this stuff together. And the cornstarch is supposed to help eliminate taking this moisture out of the silicone. And this stuff is pretty, it actually feels pretty good on the hands. Whatnot, but I got on all black and it's not a good look to get this on me. So we start kneading this together, kneading it. And I thought it was gonna feel like super gross, but it actually feels pretty good on the fingers. I have to wash these hands real good when I finish, but in the meantime, in between time, it's all coming together nice. And like I said, we're just mixing it. And this will probably be the part of the video that I'll probably time lapse or something like that. Oh, there's somebody at my door. Hold on for 1 second. Okay, I'm back, and I actually should have just ignored that. I want to work this stuff all the way in here. Okay, I'm going to sprinkle some of that on there, because now we're going to start kneading this stuff. Oh, there's some at the bottom. I want to get all of that. Okay. Now this ain't for the faint of heart. If you don't like getting your hands dirty or whatever, then you're not going to like this. Okay. I want all of that. It's not much in there, but I want to get all of that up there. As much as we can. Okay. Now, let's put that to the side. And I'm going to start just... Who is it? Oh, I am tripping. .edu. My table is hitting this chair over here on the low, and it sounds like somebody's knocking on my door. I'm sitting here talking to myself, going, who is it? I'm bugging. Okay. Okay. So I gotta start putting it together. Yeah, there we go. Now, as you can see, like I said, I'm trying to make it into a big ball. I want to get all this goodness. Okay. Now, in some of the videos I've seen, some people were using a rolling pin to really get this stuff going good, but I don't have that, so I'm just gonna have to be very meticulous, making sure all these materials are mixing together properly. Yeah, okay. Okay. Now I don't want to take any shortcuts here, so I'm gonna add the rest of that right there. I thought I could sit down and do this, but actually, I'll do it like that. It's coming together just like how I seen it on YouTube. I'm telling you, man, YouTube is an amazing channel. You can learn how to do whatever you need to do. And people have already done the hard guesswork for you. And whatnot. All right. And at one point, because this thing is so large, I didn't think that this was going to make enough or yield enough, but I'm kind of pleased with the amount that I got, because I got a nice big ball of dough and whatnot. Yeah, what I'm doing is pressing out all the air bubbles like I seen. And the working time on this is probably about 5 to 7 minutes, so I gotta speed up because I don't want it to set before I get a chance to take my impression. Keep working it just like dough. And like I said, that just gets all the air pockets out so that I don't have any voids in my impression. And I'm hoping that I do this the right way. Okay, now I've made it probably about an inch thick. I'm patting it, and I can actually feel it starting to set up. Now, I got a couple ways I can do this. I can either take my part and just dip it down in there. But I gotta be careful because I want to make sure it doesn't hit the bottom. I can do that and then pull it up on the sides. That's what I'm going to do. Pull it all the way up on the sides. And I'm hoping that I did this right and didn't push through. And after about 15 minutes or so, this thing, oh shucks, should be completely dry. And basically, just made a mold. of my center cap. This side is a little thinner than the other side. It doesn't have to be perfect. I just need that front to look good. And I think that is it, my good people. I guess I'm gonna wait about 15 minutes. And again, what the cornstarch does is pull the moisture out of the silicone. And that's what allows it to harden up and make it flexible also. So I'm gonna wait about 15 minutes or so. We're gonna bust this mold open after it dries and hardens up. I want to tear a piece off the side, but not so sure if that's a good idea. So I'll get back to you in 15 minutes. It's been about 15 minutes, and this thing is really hard and what have you. Now it's the moment of truth. It actually took me longer to get this crap off my fingers, and I still got a lot of it. It's pretty difficult to get this stuff off your fingers, but the thing is, you can't wear gloves when doing this because this silicone and cornstarch mixture actually sticks to latex rubber gloves, so it doesn't stick to the skin, and you have to wait till it cures and start peeling it off. So I got off probably about 70% of this stuff. And like I said, this is not for the faint. If you don't like getting your hands dirty, then this is not for you. But, you know, I've got it done. So what I'm going to start doing is slowly just peeling on the sides just to allow for some air to kind of get in there. And I'm hoping that I did this right. You know, this is my first time trying it, and that's exactly why I chose to make this video, because I know I'm not the only one who's had this problem. And in between the time of me letting this cure and set up, I went back online just to check, just to see if I could find any other people who may have this center wheel cap in stock. And I found a couple of other sellers. And of course, one seller had it, and they were selling this part for $139, but it was sold out. Then I looked up and found someone who was selling it out of California, and they've got the part for $69, which is not as bad, because my original findings were $189 for this thing that I told you kind of favors a Frisbee. So this thing is in here pretty good, and I'm hoping, okay, I'm going to have to hold that down so I don't want to get this crap on me, but it is what it is. It's just a matter of getting this air under here because it's got a nice seal. But that's what you need to do if you want to get all this little detail in here. And I'm breaking the seal slowly but surely, and if I can just find a spot where I can really grab it, we might be able to do some things. Now there's a cap in here, so there's a area where there's a little hole in here. I may be able to pry it out of here. It may require me to get a tool. I'm trying to think if I can use a pen or something, but I don't want to compromise this mold by ripping it. So we just got to work it slowly. Slow and steady wins the race. This side, like I said earlier, is a little thinner, so I'm really not trying to mess with that side too tough. I'd rather pull it from one of these thicker sides, get it going. Like right now, I feel like I need a second set of hands. No, I'll be right back. I am back. What I decided to use, I found had to go in my toolbox, and I had a 5/8 spade bit, which is pretty long, and I chose this because there's a little hole in the center cap where the screw goes through that you connect it to the rim. I figured if I stick this in the hole, and because I use this one because it's longer, I can use physics and hopefully use leverage to pull this thing out. But it seems to be a bad idea because, like I said, this thing is plastic. And it's actually bending the plastic. So, no bueno. No, not a good idea. Not a good idea, Papa. So, I just got to put some muscle into it. But again, like I said, I don't want to break this thing. Because then I would have done all of this for nada. And the project will be muerto. That's not what we want, Papa. Wow, this thing's really locked in here. Which doesn't really surprise me. See, as you see when I lift it, okay, let me see if I can. This thing is on here too. Okay. Okay, Papi, we gotta figure out something else. Okay. Okay, reload it. Okay. Probably time lapse this part of the video. So it doesn't seem like it took me forever and a day to get this out of here. And if I can't get this out of here, I'm gonna have to go back to the drawing board and rip this off. So I'm gonna pause the video for a second. Because this thing is hard. I'm going to put some muscle into it and see if I can get it out clean. And I'll be back. Okay, I'm back. Had to put a little muscle in it. Was shook for a second. I ended up having to take the back of a fork and just working it in, letting that air come. But I was finally able to get my center cap back. But I am very pleased, extremely pleased with my result. So, don't know if you can see that. Now, frankly, pull the camera over here. It made an amazing, there you go, impression of that cap. I haven't got the small detail from the center and everything like that. So now at this point, all I have to do is actually fill this with resin, let that get hard, pop that out, and then I'll have to clean up any voids or anything like that with my Dremel tool and drill a hole right in there. And that should harden up and cure from the resin or whatever. And then I'll color the center cap to match the rest. And it should be all right. So, again, I am super pleased. This is Cy getting at you, representing that Vertical Escape brand. Just trying to make it happen, you know. And I'm definitely, I'm happy that my project came out all right. So I'll show you guys the end result when I finish casting this thing with this. Once again, I told you I'm gonna be using this JB Weld Clear Weld Professional Grade Epoxy. Another word for resin. Resin is another word for plastic. And basically comes in two parts. You have a resin part and a hardener. And this stuff sets up, quick setting epoxy sets up in 5 minutes. So we're gonna see what I can do because it's 4 fluid ounces on both, so that should make 8 ounces. I'm hoping that the 8 ounces fills this up. Worst case scenario, if that doesn't happen, then I'm going to fill up the rest with some Bondo and let that set up, let that harden up and proceed with my plan. So that's what it is. Your boy Cy getting at you. Check back with me.